Imagine this. You're walking down the street, minding your own business, maybe listening to music through your earbuds, when suddenly you notice two police officers approaching. Your heart skips a beat. You stop. You feel your palms getting sweaty. They ask a question, and then they drop a word. You're under arrest. But what if they had used a different word instead? Detained. Two words, only a single word difference. Yet in the eyes of the law, it could mean the difference between going home later that day or spending hours, maybe an entire night behind bars. One word can change everything. And this is not just theoretical. Every year, innocent people find themselves in situations where this tiny distinction, detained versus arrested, becomes the dividing line between freedom and a criminal record. Today, we're going to explore why that word matters, how the law interprets it, and what it means for you if you're ever in that position. By the end of this video, you'll see police stops, questions, and arrests in a completely new light. Let's start simple. Being detained. It doesn't automatically mean you're under arrest. It means the police have temporarily stopped you for questioning. Maybe they suspect something. Maybe they just need information. Maybe they just want to figure out what's going on. Legally, your freedom is restricted for a short period of time, often just long enough for them to gather information. Now, consider arrested. That is a completely different situation. When you are arrested, the police are saying, "We have reason to believe you committed a crime, and you are coming with us." Your freedom is no longer temporary. Your rights immediately kick in. You can't leave. You must be read your Miranda rights in the United States, and the legal clock starts ticking toward your first court appearance. Here's where it gets tricky. Sometimes officers don't use the right word, or they phrase things in a way that's confusing. And that confusion can make a huge difference in court later. People hear detained and think it's harmless, when in reality, certain actions they take during that detention can still be used against them. It's a subtle but powerful distinction. When you're detained, you are not yet formally accused. You're still protected under the Fourth Amendment against unreasonable searches and seizures. Your lawyer can intervene. You haven't been Mirandized yet in many situations. You still have a choice. When you're arrested, everything changes. You are officially accused of a crime. The police can search you, take you to a station, fingerprint you, and hold you until your first court appearance. Your freedom is limited, your options narrower. Many people think being detained is the same as being arrested. And in that misunderstanding, they make mistakes that can have long-term consequences. They answer questions they shouldn't, sign documents without understanding them, or give information that's later used against them. These small decisions, made in a moment of stress, can shift the outcome from a minor misunderstanding to a criminal record. Let's make it real. Imagine being stopped in a traffic checkpoint. The officer says, "We're detaining you while we run a background check." You're nervous. You answer questions about where you're going, what you were doing, who you were with. Later, it turns out your answers were used in a case involving someone else. It's a legal gray area that many people never consider. Now imagine being pulled into a store after an alarm goes off. The officer says, "You're under arrest." Everything changes. You are taken into custody, fingerprinted, photographed, and possibly interrogated. Every word you speak, every action you take is documented. Your stress is high, your mind races, and this is where awareness becomes crucial. Knowing your rights, knowing the law, and knowing how to respond is what can protect you from mistakes. This is where tension builds. The difference between detained and arrested isn't just academic, it's deeply personal. It's about freedom, reputation, and sometimes your entire life. A single word changes the rules of the game. The key takeaway is awareness. If you know the difference, you gain a strategic advantage. If you're detained, you can politely ask, "Am I free to leave?" This clarifies your status. If you're arrested, your priority should be silence until a lawyer is present. Do not assume that cooperation alone will protect you. It may help, but one wrong word can be used against you. Consider real-world examples. There was a man in Florida who was briefly detained outside a store for questioning. Nervous, he answered questions about a package he was carrying. Later, law enforcement realized that his statements were useful in a completely unrelated investigation. Had he known he was only detained, he might have refused to answer and avoided that legal complication. In another case, a woman was arrested after being suspected of shoplifting, even though she had done nothing wrong. The stress of arrest caused her to speak in ways she didn't intend. Her words were documented, and for months caused legal headaches. The key factor? Understanding the distinction between detention and arrest. These examples highlight a larger point, the power of words in law enforcement. Detained, arrested, Miranda rights, consent, they're all loaded terms. Misunderstanding one of them can ripple through your life in unexpected ways. Let's pause and reflect. One word, one decision, and suddenly your freedom, your reputation, your life is on the line. Most people never stop to think about this until it happens to them. But knowledge is power. Awareness can prevent stress, confusion, and legal consequences. Now, let's dive deeper. What are the specific rights you have in each scenario? When detained, your rights are limited but significant. You can ask whether you are free to leave. You do not have to answer questions beyond identifying yourself. You can politely refuse searches without a warrant. You can request legal counsel if the detention escalates. When arrested, the protections shift. You must be read your Miranda rights before interrogation. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in court. You have the right to an attorney, and you have the right to a fair and speedy trial. Understanding these differences is not optional. It's essential. Here's something many people overlook. Detention can be deceptively short, but still impactful. A detention might last 20 minutes, an hour, or longer depending on the circumstances. Even during that brief period, your statements, your behavior, your decisions all matter. The stakes feel low because it's temporary, but the legal ramifications can extend far beyond those moments. Arrest, of course, magnifies the stakes. Being taken into custody changes everything. Your day is over. Your independence is suspended. The stress, the uncertainty, and the legal obligations can be overwhelming. And again, one word changed that reality. Consider the psychological impact. Being detained is stressful, but leaves hope. You may leave soon. Being arrested triggers a different mental state: confinement, potential criminal charges, and uncertainty about the future. Both situations demand calm, awareness, and strategic thinking. Panic or carelessness can have consequences you never intended. So, what can you do? First, always ask, am I free to leave? Clarity is your first line of defense. Second, stay calm. Nervousness escalates situations faster than words. Third, do not volunteer information. Speak only when required or after consulting an attorney. Fourth, if arrested, exercise your right to remain silent until your lawyer is present. Fifth, know your rights. They exist to protect you, and understanding them is your shield. Now let's reflect on the bigger picture. Think about the countless people stopped by police every day across the United States. Think about the moments when confusion, fear, or misunderstanding made a life-altering difference. Two words, detained or arrested, could have prevented complications. Awareness and preparation are not just about avoiding legal trouble. They're about protecting your life, your family, and your future. The legal system is precise. It thrives on exact definitions and procedures. Law enforcement officers are trained to observe, interpret, and record. One slip, one misused word, one assumption, and suddenly your legal standing is challenged. That's why education matters. That's why knowing the difference between detained and arrested is more than trivia. It's essential knowledge for anyone interacting with law enforcement. Let's imagine one final scenario. You're walking home from work. Two officers stop you. You're nervous but calm. You hear the word detained. You politely ask, am I free to leave? The officer explains the situation. You remain composed, avoid volunteering information, and leave shortly after. You're home, safe. Stressful, yes, but controlled. Now imagine the same scenario, but the word was arrested. Suddenly, everything changes. Your day is over. You're taken into custody. Your freedom is suspended. Every word is documented. Your stress rises. Your options are limited. The difference is clear. The difference is life-changing. The lesson is simple, yet profound. One word can change everything. Detained or arrested. Knowledge, awareness, calm, and strategic thinking can protect you in ways luck alone cannot. So, next time you hear these words, pause. Take a breath. Remember, one word can determine freedom, criminal records, or even your reputation. Your choices in those moments matter more than you may ever realize. Be informed, stay calm, protect yourself, and never underestimate the power of the law and the power of a word. Thank you for watching. If this video made you think, consider sharing it. Everyone deserves to know the difference. In the world of law enforcement, knowledge truly is freedom.